Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Gregg from Lincoln Elementary, and we are going to be talking today about some of our power words, and we're also going to be looking at making connections in the text that we read. So first I want to talk about your power words. These are our vocabulary words. They go along with our story for today. The first word is gasped. So can you say that with me? Gasped. Very good. So if people gasped, they took a sharp breath in a surprised way. So here's an example. I'm going to make the sound that is called a gasp. Ever heard anyone make that before? So here's the picture. I love this one. It says, the children gasped in surprise as they watched the movie. So I want you at home to gasp as if you're surprised at something. So do that for me. All right. Our next word is frenzy. I want you to say that with me. Frenzy. Ready? Frenzy. Very good. A frenzy is a time of great excitement and wild behavior. So I think of an example would be like if people are at a concert of someone, a musician that they really like, it might be a frenzy trying to get close to the stage to see that person. In this image, we see the fish were in a feeding frenzy. So they all get up there real close and try to get all the food. So you also might experience a frenzy at a birthday party. Like if someone is hitting a piñata and the candy falls out, then the kids come up and it's a frenzy to try to get all of the candy. All right, our next word is battleground. Say that with me. Ready? Battleground. A battleground is where a fight takes place. So some examples I think of are in Piney Flats. There's a place called Rocky Mount, and it almost looks exactly like this picture, and that was where some important battles took place. This field was once a battleground. Long ago, a large battle was fought here. So I also think of like if you're at home playing, if you have brothers and sisters or cousins that you play with, you might have a battleground for a pillow fight when you're playing at home. All right. The next word is feud. Let's say that together. Ready? Feud. A feud is a long fight. So we think about a feud might be when two family members aren't getting along, and so you can see these kids are looking away from each other because they are angry or upset, so they're in a fight, a feud. My sister and I are in a feud because she takes my toys. So here's an example I think of. If players are not being good sports, they can start a feud. So feud is another word for like a fight. Oh, this word is strokes. Say that with me. Ready? Strokes. When something strokes something else, it moves gently over that thing. So you can see the person's hand is stroking the puppy. The woman strokes the young puppy as it falls asleep. I also think of, like in art class, you may use strokes when you're painting. And so that means you're moving the paintbrush gently over the paper. So that word is strokes. All right, the next word is tumbling. Say that with me. Ready? Tumbling. Something that is tumbling is rolling over and over. And some of you, if you do gymnastics or dance, you may have heard the word tumbling before. So in this image, the tumbling children got dizzy after several somersaults. So if we think about how we can roll a ball, we say the ball is tumbling away. That's another example of tumbling. All right, the next word is plumes. Say that with me. Ready? Plumes. Plumes are long, thin shapes that look like feathers. So we see in the photo, plumes of smoke from the campfire drifted up into the air. I also think about if you're in the marching band, you wear a hat and sometimes it has a tall feather on it, and we call that a plume as well. Plumes are curved like a feather. So you can see these are the plumes of smoke. They look like feathers. All right. The next word is wisps. Say that with me. Ready? Wisps. Wisps are thin streaks of something. So here's an example. Wisps of tiny clouds floated in the sky above us. We also call our hair, if you have little pieces of hair that come down in your face, they may be called wisps of hair. All right, so those are our power words for today. You're going to hear those in the story that we're going to be reading. And that story is called The Great Fuzz Frenzy. So frenzy was one of our words, and it's in the title of that story. Now, before we read, we want to talk about some things that good readers do. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is making connections. So let me zoom out so that you can see that a little better. There you are. All right, making connections. There we go. So let's think about when we make connections, there are 3 different ways that we might make a connection. And it says here, when you read, find ways that the text is like things in your own life and other texts you have read. So we're making connections between things that we already know and have experienced, and we're also connecting it to things that we have read about or learned about. So it all starts here. We can make connections called text to self. So that is when we read a book and then it reminds us of a time that we did something. So for example, I love reading Junie B. Jones, and when I read her book about Thanksgiving, it reminded me of things that I do at Thanksgiving also. So that's a connection from the text to yourself. You can also make connections from one text to another text. So if you read a book about space and then you read another book about space, you can make connections on how these books are like or how they're different. The last connection we make is the text to the world. So we can say this is something, or this is like something that happened in my community. So we're connecting it to things going on in the world from things in the book that we read. So we're going to be practicing making connections today when we read The Great Fuzz Frenzy. And I want you to be thinking about these questions when you're reading. What does this text remind me of in my own life? Have I read a book about the same topic? Did I experience something in my community that is like what is happening in the text? So as you're reading today, I want you to be making these connections between either yourself and the book and another book or text, or the text and something going on in the world. And let's see what connections that you can come up with as you read.